Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to move on. Bob Mead with Nebraska Municipal Power Point. Power Pool, I'm sorry. Bob, you want to get up and address the council?
Oh, look at this.
How's this?
That's good enough.
I'm Bob Mead from MEAN, Municipal Energy Agency of Nebraska. I am representative of your power supplier. I was asked here today by Steve and Mark, with recent events in town with your transformer up at your substation going belly up here and having to fix it because of the internal problems it had, they wanted to be a pretty proactive approach and not let this happen again. So I've come into town and I've taken a look at your electrical distribution system, and your system, like a lot of others, is very, very aging, and it hasn't had a lot of rebuild, attention, upgrade in the last forever. Wire size is small. We're still at 2400 volt delta. Line loss in town is around 12 to sometimes 14% a year. We should probably very strongly recommend to the council to take a look at possibility of upgrading the entire system. To rebuild the system and fix it from where it is now is going to be very costly. There's a possibility of upgrading the entire system to 12,470 volt. The transformers you have up at the north substation are 69,000 to 2,400 volt. I looked, and several other people looked, for a replacement transformer before you guys bit the bullet, kept two of them in service, sent one out to repair, and thank goodness it worked, because otherwise you guys would have been in the dark for a long time before something else happened, before we found a substation, a portable substation big enough with that unique voltage combination to power your town.
I'm going to interrupt you here quick, Bob. If one of the transformers would go down today or tomorrow, would the two that we have remaining withstand the power?
Probably not this winter. You winter peak a little bit here. So right now the loading on it would probably be too much for those two transformers. You would probably have some situations of very low voltage or brownout conditions where Mark would have to probably go out and start switching around. So some of the town would be off for a little bit, and then you'd have to switch loads around. I don't think you guys want to do that, if at all possible. Let's just hope that those transformers hang in there long enough to take a look at the situation.
See, when we went on those two transformers, we had to step up the taps on the
You had to set the voltage up as high as it would go to get the voltage.
Because our regulators would be pegging out at 16.
Right.
And so then we had to shut it off. That's why we had to shut it off the second time.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to step up in the power transformers to
you had to set the taps.
Set the taps up higher.
Right, so the voltage coming out of it would be a little bit higher. It worked out, luckily. It worked out. There wasn't much load during the time. You had good weather. Not a lot of load going on.
Not a lot of their air conditioners running.
Right now in town, guys, the distribution system is kind of an antique. You've got old copper wires up there. New technology is not prevalent at all. We need to go up 2 voltage levels for you. Your line loss, to give you an example, your line loss is at 12 to 14% now. Line loss with a new system, 12,470, would probably be around 6%. So you'll half your line loss. So 6% of your system's net worth every year going into coffers that you don't have before. And on top of that, some metering changes. It'll be really good. Really good for your system. But I would strongly recommend you guys to look at the possibility of bringing an engineering firm in and doing a feasibility study on this and see what they say, what they would recommend for how to approach this. Now, should I mention the ethanol plant?
Mm-hmm.
The ethanol plant out south of town is a large load sitting right on your doorstep. there's a possibility you guys might be able to annex it and get a revenue stream from that ethanol plant.
This is what I was telling you about, Randy.
There's several ways to go on about that. I contacted your league of municipalities today. He would help you guys start the process. He would definitely recommend to get the city attorney involved in it and look at county taxes and see what they are. See if it's even feasible to do first. See what the steps are.
It's already in the city limits.
Yeah.
It's already in the city limits?
We gave up the electric system for them to locate there.
Why?
I was on the city
Who serves them now?
council.
It's a rural.
CSAC, County REC, and Corn Belt.
There is a substation out there that is on the same voltage as 69,000, set down to 3167s out there, or 1667 is the 5 MVA at 12470.
Right.
So you guys could possibly buy that sub, use that sub for town, and eliminate this one, or upgrade it, and then have a loop feed system. But it's not get the cart before the horse. Let's see if it's feasible to do first. See if they're willing to switch from the REA to you guys. I think your rates would be cheaper to them, so that should be attractive. But the REA is going to throw a,
Private.
well, I don't think they want to give up the good load.
We've already contacted with them.
Maybe it's not feasible to do.
I think the contract we used every 5 years, as I recall.
But it's a possibility. It's something you guys should do
Look at
due
for possible revenue for the city of Louisville.
diligence and take a look at it and see what they say. See what your city attorney says and see what the feasibility study would say for it. And if you want some help with the aging distribution system, I can write up a list of projects that need to be done immediately with the help of Mark. And we can give you a list of projects that should be looked at now. I would almost assume, from what I've looked at your system, you've got about between 20 and 30% of your town's poles that need replaced. If you go in and contract with somebody to replace 20% of your poles, it's a big chunk of change. Then you got to go to new standards, new clearances. You know, it looks kind of hodgepodge.
For the higher voltage.
Yeah.
I think we should pursue that avenue myself. Get you guys some hard figures and facts sitting in front of you.
It's going to cost a little bit of money to do an engineering study. You'll have to contact a firm, a reputable firm that you guys trust, and see what they say. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, but
What if some of us don't trust engineers at all, then who do you recommend?
hire a contractor, do it, put it out on a 20-year bond, and be done with it. But you're going to have an engineering study to find out where the poles go anyway.
You're gonna go underground though, aren't you?
There's it costs a third more, or maybe even a little bit more than a third more, to go underground than it does overhead.
What's the maintenance in the?
Maintenance on underground for the first 10 to 12 years is negligible. But overhead, you can see it. It's out there in the open where you can physically see it and fix it. Underground, you got to pull it out, replace it, splice it. If you get a loop feed system, I wouldn't be afraid of the underground at all. A loop feed system, when you don't have one, is a little bit cost effective, or a little bit costly to put in. It's about another 25% to put a loop feed in on everything. Continuity of service would be great.
I lived out in the farm and we had most of ours knocked ice with an ice door. And I talked to the guy that had done it, and he said it's about a wash for, as far as in the country, for underground or overhead. It's a difference for maintenance.
I would really dispute that. I'd say at least a third more to go underground. The equipment costs at least 30% more to go underground. So, and then labor to bore it, dig it in. It's easier to go plant a pole than it is to trench across somebody's property and bore across every road and intersection. So, and besides, when you do that, you got all new meters.
Then you got to cross other utilities too,
Yeah.
when you're going underground.
You don't have to put new metering in, but it'd be a good spot to do it. It'd be minuscule in price in the scheme of things to do. So I just throwing this out as a proposal, guys. If you guys want to look at it, I think it'd be,
Advantageous.
yeah, the goodie has been sucked out of your system for the last umpteen years. The electric system is the fund that actually makes money. All the other infrastructure funds probably don't gather much revenue above what they should. This one, the electric fund, actually makes money and funds you guys. It's your cash registers. You need to keep track of your cash register and keep it in good working condition. And in the past, it's very evident. You haven't put a lot back into it. It's all been fixed. Stopgap, put a Band-Aid on it. It's to the point where you almost need, I don't know, tourniquet or a rest pump or whatever.
Transport.
Yeah, you need a transport, yeah.
So Bob, would you suggest that maybe you and Mark go around and say, okay, here's what I think, or would you just recommend right off the bat, just go find an engineer?
I would bite the bullet, and with the council's recommendation, it's definitely up to you guys, but I would highly recommend you at least look at it. It's going to cost you a little bit of money to look at it. When you get the engineering study, you'll have the data to make an informed decision.
I didn't know if that would help them, though, if you and Mark went around and said, listen, here's where you got a problem spot, you got this many poles, here's where
The
you got a problem
engineering,
spot.
the engineering group will come in and do the whole thing.
They do the whole
They'll
thing.
look at the entire system. They will do load flow analysis. They'll do amperage. They'll look at the placement of the poles or the pad mount transformers. They'll look at how many gang sockets they would put in. They would look at the load at the south end of town for this, your load center out south of town with the gravel pit. That line was engineered correct at 12.5, so that one's already done. But if we want to pick up the ethanol plant, there's a substation possibility going out south, so they have to look at all of the flows. We might be able to reroute some stuff. And I don't know about your voltage in town. I've checked myself. Even on a good day with all your transformers in, you guys are approaching being pretty close to the bottom of the guidelines, national standards for voltage stability in town. Because you've got to maintain between plus or minus 10% of 112. So you got to be 122 to 112. Right?
10%?
Another 7% for 11.
Its standard is 7, but the minimum level is 10.
Okay.
You can't provide at the weatherhead less than 10% of nominal voltage of 120, which is 112. And I've seen some of them at 115. That's
See, if we try
It's
to
not real.
maintain voltage out south of town, when the
Yeah.
voltage is so high up by the sub that
Yeah.
you're out of your 10%
Yeah.
on both ends.
Need a regulator in between.
Yeah,
We no longer go out south of town.
what?
We no longer go out south.
No, but I mean,
Are
say-
you talking about our tubs? Our,
your transformers up here at the
240.
substation. You're pushing, in the summertime and the winter, you're pushing probably 124 out of the sub. And then when it gets to the south end of town, the business district down here, some of these are 115 volt. And if they got a large load inside with not very good wiring on their premise, they're going to have problems. They're going to be burning some motors up or
you're talking downtown.
downtown or residential in this end of town. Or the factory out here, Cookies.
We had that problem out here, that's popcorn plant.
yeah.
Yeah.
They were having too much voltage, couldn't get your motors to run.
That might be part of the problem.
Well, see, they
too.
had one of the center phases was going bad, the fuse, so then that would up your other two phases
Yeah.
on voltage.
I carry an infrared camera with me almost all the time, and I have looked at your system at night that you've known about. And there's probably 45, 50 spots that are showing pretty doggone hot that need fixed soon. And I'll get together with Mark and,
I was gonna say, can you get us some documentation
Yeah,
so that
I'm
we
sure
can
you can.
see this?
Yeah.
I've got to take Mark with me so we can write your locations down
Yeah,
and
we'll
document
do
it.
that.
And then you can start working on that because
Right.
you'll be a little bit proactive again. You
Right.
can go ahead and fix that before somebody has a problem.
Because, you know, we might have to take an outage to do it, and then we have to give everybody notice that we have to maybe take an outage to fix that problem, you know.
Anybody got any questions for me?
Yeah, you're from Nebraska, we're from Iowa. What's our first step?
Contact a reputable firm, one that you guys trust.
Would you do a RFP for that?
Yes, I would.
Request for proposal on,
I'd do a request for proposal. That way you'd probably get 2 or 3 bids on it.
Check with IMU too, they can lead you to some pretty good guys.
They can't recommend, but they can give you a list.
Yeah, I mean, they can give you the list of the ones that are out there.
And you guys know, in the local vicinity, who the other towns that have had an electrical engineer. Some of them had problems with them, some of them haven't. You'll find a taste for them pretty quick.
DGR's up in this part of the country, and there's a couple, 3 others up in here that are.
Would Leonard's have any recommendations, Mark?
Yeah,
GGR is who they use.
They've used them for over 20-some years, I guess. What Bill told me.
Who did?
Oh, City Lakeview. He's DGR.
And check with Algona. See who they're gonna use. Because they've been doing a lot of update stuff up there. I
Oh,
know they had to have some engineering people help them there.
okay.
Thank you, guys. If you got any questions, give Mark or Steve a call and they can get hold of me.
Anybody else have any questions for Bob? Okay,
You don't mind much good.
thank you, Bob, very much.